Well, thanks for joining us today. We are following up on our Mindset Gap series with Dr. Roger Hall. We're chatting today about the imposter syndrome in the age of social media. We're going to define kind of the gap of what we see in the space of former imposter syndrome and today's kind of evolution of that, get into the neuroscience of what it means. Oddly, it appears to be different than what most people think that the syndrome is. And the high achiever paradox actually speaks to who it affects the most. We're going to get into how it actually kind of manifests itself, specifically in social media, and then we're going to talk about how to address it, how to consider it, how to approach it, and how to address it. We're going to do all this today with Dr. Roger Hall. Dr. Hall is a business psychologist, executive coach, public speaker, and multi-time author. And one of my favorite aspects of all this is the practical day-to-day application of everything that we talk about. So kind of the neuro nerd side of things. So with that, I'll bring Dr. Hall in. How you doing, Dr. Hall?
I'm doing quite well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to kind of chat about this one because in my little bit of research, it seems like it's either unknown or significantly misunderstood or misunderappreciated, kind of in those three categories. Is that kind of
Sure.
your takeaway?
Um,
Experience, I should say.
I think, in your intro, you talked about how social media doesn't create it, but it amplifies it. I think that's a place to spend some time.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, before we do that, let's do our introductions today. A couple of housekeeping items. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is the Perfect Real Estate Business. We're just simply trying to reinvent real estate. Nothing big or anything like that, but in large part in collaboration with Dr. Hall, we bring coaching, mentoring, consulting, kind of the things that we don't see a lot of, if any, in our space, as well as the things that you absolutely need as a team or a brokerage. Ideally, we're talking about the psychology of real estate success. So with that, let's bring Dr. Holland and talk about one of the concepts is that this comparison loop that we get in social media, we would do naturally comparison in the past, but now we have it front and center, kind of
Mhm.
all day, every day. Do you see, as far as the gap goes now, that people are have a heightened sense of imposter syndrome? More people have it, or a combination of both, or
Um, I think, the numbers were always very high. Prior to
mm,
social media, the estimates were somewhere uh, between 80 and 90% of the people of moderately successful. That's the important thing. Moderately successful people felt like an imposter. And the way to define that is when you walk into a room of other people, you look around and you think to yourself, all these people belong here. But if they knew, and then you insert, your own insecurity, if they knew my arrest record, if they knew my grade point average, if they knew how fouled up my previous relationships are, whatever your insecurity is, fill in the blank, then you would say they belong here, but I do not. And what the imposter phenomena does is it looks at the exterior of other people and compares it to the interior of us, because we don't know the interior of anyone else.
right?
What's happened with social media is it's put us in touch with um, you know a manifold increased number of people whose exteriors we see.
Mm.
And as a result, we're comparing ourselves with a much larger set of the population.
Then formally appeared or was manifested to have the imposter syndrome. You're
Yeah,
seeing more
yeah,
evidence
and
of that?
I think there's a ton more evidence of it. That I've referred to his book before, Jonathan Haidt's book, the anxious generation, talks about how people who were raised in a phone-based childhood are now having much higher levels of anxiety than their than other cohorts of people who grew up in different eras. Um, what what our electronics have done, and we're a part of this right now. You and I are, you know, perhaps contributing to the problem, um, in that we can now reach out and influence people beyond our reach. Um, people we've never met before, and in other generations that just wasn't possible. The first real expansion of human influence was the creation of writing, and then after that the creation of the printing press, because you could distribute ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to writing, it was all oral tradition, and your ideas had greater difficulty um, transcending generations. With the advent of writing, a person's idea could live beyond them. So um, we are fortunate to have the philosophy of people who lived 2,000 and 3,000 years before us: Epictetus, Aristotle, Plato. If we talk about the Western tradition, Marcus Aurelius, all these people, they just wrote stuff down. Then came the printing press, and rather than having to handwrite things out, it distributed even more. Well, what social media has done is it has taken broadcast media and distributed it to everyone.
Mm.
And so now, today, we have the technology that allows us to do what only, if we look, say, 40, 50 years ago, prior to cable television, really there were only 3 or 4 media groups that could distribute that in the United States. Now, you and I, because of the democratization of this technology, you and I could potentially have the same reach and distribution as CBS, ABC, or NBC had 50 years ago.
Hmm.
So we don't have as many people, but we can go as far. In fact, we can actually go farther. So the opportunity to interact with people via this medium has expanded, not just is expanded to address the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very possible that once you publish this, someone in, I don't know, say Thailand could watch it. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the chances 30 years ago of someone from Thailand ever interacting with our conversation is next to nothing. All of which to say is this is a dramatic change in our society, and human beings have not biologically caught up,
Mm.
and perhaps they never will catch up. So you're going to ask a question, but there's a lane I want to go down
Yeah,
that I
absolutely.
think
Go,
is very
yeah.
important for this.
I'll let you go down that lane because I'm trying to formulate my thoughts anyway, so that'll work well.
Okay, so there's a a primatologist named Robin Dunbar, and what he looked at were animals, and he mostly looked at chimpanzees, but he also looked at other animals. And what he said is that the size of a troop for a chimpanzee was a certain size, and I think it was like 30 or 40. I don't remember the exact numbers. But other primates that didn't have the same cranial capacity, whose brains were not as big, their troop size was smaller. And what he hypothesized is that there is a brain capacity troop size, which is the size of your tribe, the size of the people.
Okay.
And what he posited for human beings is that the the size of the human troop, or the human tribe, is about 100 or 120. Some people range it up to 150. And the way he and other people have described it, and it's called Dunbar's number, named after Dunbar and
Okay.
The scientist is named Robin Dunbar. He's not a psychologist. He's a biologist, and he studies animals, not humans. But what he did was he extrapolated cranial size, and he said human cranial size. He would project that we would lump into groups of about 100 to 150. And the way he defined it is he says it's the number of people that you know on a first name basis, and that if you saw them on the street, you would stop and say hello
Okay.
because you know them well enough.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at human beings and the size of our brains, what it argues from Dunbar's number is we're biologically determined to connect effectively with about 100 to 150 people. Now, if we look at the history of human organization, what we see is that the military pretty much tops out their, let's see, there's a troop, then there's a platoon, and there's a battalion. I don't know all the levels, but 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 it ranks at about 100, and then you get another layer of organization.
Okay.
And if you look at this going back through history, people tended to lump in groups of about 100 to 150. So if you think human beings are wired to naturally compare themselves to a group of people that they're going to interact with on a first name basis. So if we looked at social media in the 1930s, right? Or let's go to the 1920s,
Okay.
prior to radio, or maybe radio was just coming on then. What do we see? We see you compared yourself to the people who lived near you, who you went to church with, the people you worked with, and that was probably for most people about 120 people.
Okay.
150 people.
And realistic, because those are the people you're around, so they're similar,
So they're
familiar.
similar. So, if you were the prettiest girl of 120 people, that meant on average you're the prettiest girl of 60 people. Now, when we add social media and the democratization of this technology, then you're comparing yourself not to 120 people, but 100 million people, or whoever's out there. And the way the algorithms work is they're not going to show you the middle of the packers or the bottom
Right.
quartile.
Right.
They're going to show you the top 1% of, let's say, 100,000 people. Well, you look at those people and you immediately compare yourself, because that's what we're designed to do. Human beings, we spend our time ranking ourselves with others. That's how groups survive, is what's my place in this group? Well, if you rank yourself, like, I'm the best, I'm the best horseback rider. I'm the prettiest girl. I'm the smartest. What you're looking at a group of 120 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really small group. Well, when you expand it out and you're only looking at the top, 1% or half of 1% of 100,000 or a million people, we all look like we suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like your description or scenario of the prettiest gal in a group of 120. You translate that to social media, and now she's looking at thousands of supermodels in a
Yes.
fashion algorithm or a
Yep.
style algorithm or whatever. And it's
Whatever.
the comparison is, wow, I don't look anything like that. I used to be beautiful if I compared to this group, and now I'm kind of the ugly duckling of this group, which my brain is comparing to.
Yeah. Okay. And we do these comparisons all the time. So I'll tell you a story. Um, I was in Walmart late at night, like 11 o'clock at night. I went in to get some yogurt. I needed some yogurt for breakfast the next morning. I'm there and I'm checking out, and the woman looks at me and she says, "You don't belong here." And
Okay.
and I'm in my hometown, that hometown where I grew up. I'm maybe a half a mile from where I went to high school, and I'm thinking, I don't
If
belong
anybody
here. I mean, This is
Yeah.
like my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I go, what do you mean? And she says, you're skinny and good looking.
Wow.
Now, okay, what does that tell you? That tells you Roger is a Walmart 10. Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh that hard. That was not
But
nice.
it's funny because in real life, I'm just normal looking, right? But at midnight at Walmart, I'm a Walmart 10. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's all about your comparison group.
Hmm.
Okay. So realistically, if I was to compare myself to, male models or, the best looking men in the world, I'm not going to be in the top 50%. Okay.
Yeah.
But if I'm late at night at Walmart, I'm quite the find.
Yeah.
So, but see, that's how we all used to work. We used to be in our little community. We were the Walmart 10.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now, compared to the rest of the world, we're just whatever.
Yeah. Well, I like that whole description because it sounds to me like it segues into the neuroscience side of things of from the little bit of research I did, it's not necessarily a character, the character issue, the syndrome isn't related to something we need to do to be better. It's more related to a survival mechanism. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely, because when you're in a group of 120 people, you need to know what you're best at, and that's how you contribute meaningfully to the well-being of the group. The thing about human beings is we're not, as predators, we're not very good at it. We don't have very good claws. We're not very strong relative to other animals. We can't bite that hard. Our teeth
Mhm.
aren't that sharp. So what do we have? What we have are these brains, and we have the interaction that we have with other people.
Mm,
Human beings have succeeded because we work cooperatively with other human beings. This is kind of maybe a flight of fancy, but have you ever thought about why human beings play?
no, can't say as I have.
No. Like, why do we do that? Why do kids play? And then you
Mm.
look at puppies and kittens, and you look at rabbits, and you look at squirrels. All the little ones, they all play.
Oh, they're trying to figure out the hierarchy.
Well, part of it is hierarchy, but part of it is they're practicing behavior that helps them adapt in adulthood. So if you
Mm,
look at predators, they play chase and bite games.
mm,
If you're looking at prey animals, they play run and hide games.
gotcha.
Okay? Because
Interesting.
those are the adaptive strategies.
Yeah.
So why do humans play? Humans play because they're learning the adaptive strategies for adulthood. And what human play teaches children is how to interact effectively with other human beings that are age related.
Mm,
Play teaches cooperation. Play teaches how to read someone else's nonverbal behavior. Okay, so human beings are we're adapted to cooperate and get along with one another. That's how we survive. And so it's wired in us to look for, where am I in the social order? What's my hierarchy? And we interact effectively with people by one-on-one. Now we're mediated by this technology, and we're comparing ourselves with millions of people. So we're always going to feel inadequate.
yeah. Well, it's almost a kind of survival, uh, pessimistic or discouraging experience to rate yourself to people that are super fast, super strong, super good looking, and you're like, where am I? I don't fit anywhere even remotely in the ballpark because these are one percenters.
Yeah, they're one percenters, and the unfortunate thing people do is they compare themselves with these half of 1% or 1%, and they feel inadequate. There's a wonderful book that I really recommend. It's called The End of Average,
Hmm.
and the argument that the author makes is that there is no average person, and exceptional people are exceptional not because they're in the top half of 1%, but they're in the top 10 or 20% on two or three things that they combine together.
That's it, powerful, interesting, and
It,
powerful.
it's really powerful because if you go, wow, you're one in a million, you know what that means on planet Earth? There are
Uh,
8,000 people just as good as you.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Puts it in perspective.
that puts it in perspective. So if you're one in a million, you're really not that special. But if you're good at two or three things in the top 10 or 20% and are able
Mm,
to combine those, there may not be more than three or four other people with that same combination of gifts.
right.
So rather than looking at other people and saying, I'm not as X as they are, the question we have to ask is at ourselves is, what are the two or three things, maybe four things that I'm really good at? I may not be top 1%, but I'm good enough at that. That combination then together makes me exceptional.
S-
Let's in
Go
track
ahead.
and field.
Yeah.
Let's look at the decathlon. Do you know what the decathlon
Oh,
is?
I do. Uh-huh.
It's 10 events. Is anyone who wins the decathlon good enough to compete on any single event?
No.
No, it's the combination of events. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a real sense, all human beings are decathletes. We've got to look, or pentathletes. We've got to look at the 5 or 10 things that we're good enough at, and that's what makes us exceptional.
So does that make things easier to accept, knowing it's a kind of survival mode instinct than a character instinct? Because you think character, I just got to build character, but now all of a sudden, this is just how I behave and will respond. I currently respond and will always respond. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself because we are going to get to
That's
how we
okay.
can address these, but it's easy to try to find a solution sooner
Well,
than
I
later.
think. Well, since we're there, let's talk about it. Part of the solution is rather than focusing on single areas where you're quote exceptional, you're always gonna find, you know 8,000 people who are as good or better than you.
Yeah.
But once you start looking at 3 or 4 or 5 qualities that you have, that you may not be one in a million, but you may be, in the top 10 or 20%, that's a unique contribution. And so it's looking at ourselves not just in on one variable, but a constellation of of 3 to 5 variables
Yeah.
that we're really good at. And they don't have to be the kind of things that you can see, because
Mm.
social media, what it does is it only focuses on visual and auditory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only what we can see and hear in real life.
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to see someone. I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, there's just lots of things that people are good at that just don't make for
Doesn't
good
translate on
video.
video.
No, no, man, I can do Excel spreadsheets. I can't. But
Right.
um,
Right.
but if somebody does, they're not going to be doing video. Well, some people may be doing videos of those, but they don't make for you know interesting viewing for people.
Yeah.
It if you're good at let's say woodworking, and you can feel the surface of a piece of wood and recognize by feel imperfections. Well, that doesn't translate to video.
Right. Right.
You
You're
know,
really good
I
at it, but
yeah,
nobody
my
can
my
tell.
old my old next door neighbor, he used to work concrete. That's how he came up. He started out in construction
Okay.
and concrete.
Okay.
He could just eyeball something and go, well, that's not level. There's a dip right there. I was like, I don't
Really?
see it. And he goes, you can't see that? No, I can't. I could,
Right.
and he would always find he could make something perfectly level on the ground.
Amazing.
I couldn't see it, and that
Yeah.
makes for lousy video.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's skills that are obvious and translate on video, and then there's skills that are not. But in social media, the ones that look good, sound good are going to have a leg up. And so the other
Right.
people that don't look good, feel good, can be as successful, but they struggle.
Right, and let's look at the whole a whole set of things: taste and smell. Those things just don't translate in social media. There are people who can smell subtleties and taste subtleties that other people can't do. Well, that doesn't translate to social media.
Right. Right.
So there's lots of things about human beings that we're never going to see.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so we compare ourselves with a subset of all the skills and all the gifts that people have. We compare ourselves with a, an unnaturally large number of things, and we're comparing ourselves just on one skill or one um, visibly apparent skill.
So I just went to the next slide, which I do want to go back briefly, but I was trying to see if it fit into the social media as an amplifier, not a cause.
Oh, absolutely.
And that you just spoke to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're built for comparison.
Mm-hmm.
We're built to do that, to find out what's our role in our community, so that we can be a beneficial part of that community, so that the community, the troop, the tribe can survive.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do this. I'm designed to do this. Now I have to be, we're going to go back to who's normally inclined to do this, and then the best way to handle it, whether you're on the side of being on social media or watching social media. So anyway, let's chat real briefly about what
Sure.
I find interesting is the high achiever paradox. As best I can tell, it's that this imposter syndrome isn't mainly or predominantly in the mediocre achievers, but it's really apparent and common in the high achievers more so. Am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, because the mediocre achievers, they kind of know where they are. They've
oh,
never been in the running to be in the top 10%.
yeah, interesting.
So like, I when it comes to basketball, I never feel like a phony
Because I'm not trying to be
because I've
Mr.
never
I'm not
been
trying to
good
be
at
Michael Jordan.
basketball.
Right.
I realized that, in the 10th grade, I had no chance ever of being any good enough to compete in basketball. So I don't go on the basketball court and think, oh, they're going to think I'm good. I know I'm not any good.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know. I think that's a really good point, but I was more thinking of that the more accomplished and successful you get, the more as a person you know that you're not. You know,
Well,
you
right. If you have a healthy level of reality,
there you go.
you recognize, oh, there are people who are more skilled than me. And even the famous people who are so skilled at what we see, and music always comes to mind for me. So we see these famous musicians. I bet you every one of them could name a half a dozen people better at the instrument, but aren't on tour, aren't in a name brand
Mm,
band,
yeah,
but they know as a session musician or whatever that this person is better.
yeah,
So they recognize, okay, I've got skill, I've got a look, and I had some luck. That's how I got here.
yeah,
And so there really is a sense that, yeah, if everybody knew I wasn't that good at music, you know,
yeah.
I mean, I I heard a story. I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a choir director that had John Lennon and then George Harrison in the choir, and he didn't think either of them had talent.
Okay.
So so there they are in their choir in the bottom half.
Yeah,
And then they
interesting.
go on to either he was really really wrong or they hadn't developed their skill. But those guys probably remember, yeah, Mr. So and so didn't really think I had much talent. Oh,
Wasn't
okay,
super
that'll
impressed.
stick with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was more another facet I was thinking of in doing the research was when you get to that level of success, we've talked in other episodes about you acquire the character, the strength, hopefully the resources, the people to keep you out of the weeds. But is there a component of imposter syndrome that says, man, this could easily all fall apart because I've built, a lot of fame. I've earned a lot of money. I've done all these things, and I know who I really am inside, and it's not all that much better than I was 10 years ago. But now everybody thinks I'm, whoever. Is that a
I,
facet of all this?
I think there's truth. There's a piece of that underlying all of it, which is whatever success I have is quite fragile. And if people knew the truth about me, they
Mm,
wouldn't think so much of me.
yeah, yeah,
And frankly, and so everything I built could disappear. Frankly, some of that's good for us
mm,
because it keeps us humble.
humble.
You need your siblings to kind of keep you in line
Yeah,
because they knew you when you were just runny nosed little punk,
yeah,
um, and that's good for us
yeah,
in terms of humility. But if you believe that's going to translate into, oh, I can no longer provide value, or you compare yourself to everybody else's outside and you compare them to your inside, you'll
yeah,
always come up inadequate.
yeah. Yeah, well, I think, we're fortunate enough. It sounds like we're having some really good segues today, but this authenticity antidote, in my research, is that if you're truly authentic in what it takes to be acquiring this success and the things that you're going through, if things are a little rocky at some point, you can go, "Hey, I was honest the whole time. Like I showed you that, what it really took to make this stuff happen. I didn't sugarcoat everything. I didn't put on a pretty
Yeah.
face, and, not that you got to go out there and show everybody that, when you're depressed or when you're anxious, or but to at least come across, as authentic as you can without feeling dumb or whatever. Is that a really good way to approach this? That there's some level of humility to say, I'm going to show you the ugly stuff as well as the pretty stuff.
Well, I think there's some hey, look at me, look how authentic I'm being. Um, C.S. Lewis talked about humility, and he said the humble person is not the person who looks humble. Um, they're just not even thinking about it.
Yeah, they're not faking humble, they just are.
Well, but they're not even thinking about humility.
Oh, interesting. It's just built in.
It, I mean, it's just not a variable that comes into their mind.
Yeah.
And so the more we think about something, to demonstrate it, the more it controls us.
Oh, interesting.
Um, so you know, it's like faking authenticity. I'm going to be really authentic, and I'm going to show you what I look
I'm
like
going to show you how
without my
authentic I am. I'm
makeup.
going to.
Well, that's another look at me thing.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we
Very interesting.
I think part of it is trying to and we're all going to try to present in a way that's valuable to other people. We're all going to try to put on our best, because that's just what high performers try to do. Is they try to do their best, but then they recognize, okay, I'm not as good as this other person
Mm.
at this thing, or I'm inadequate, but I'm going to do my part. I think um, maybe that's the way to combat it. There was in World War II, the British used to say, uh, "I want to do my bit,"
Mm.
and so that I've got to do my bit, which is I've got to contribute. I'm not going to be the star of the show. I'm not going to be the Spitfire pilot, but I am going to be the barber who cuts his hair. I'm going to do
Mm.
my bit.
Okay.
And so everybody does their bit. And if you recognize, okay, I, I may not be the star of the show, but I got to do my part. I
Yeah.
may not be the best in the world, but I'm going to do my part and contribute meaningfully to our society.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably the healthier way.
Yeah. And it takes all types to make the world go round by design. If we can't
Mhm.
all be the same, otherwise there's things that wouldn't get done.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, interesting. Well, what's your thoughts on this idea of like a practical reset? If you find yourself in that imposter syndrome, or um, what can you do real world stuff to kind of, and I'm gonna butcher the word you gave me the other day because you had to share it. I'll come up with it in a minute. But basically, how do I protect myself from that? It,
From the imposter syndrome?
yeah, yeah. How do I practically day to day do these things, think this way to not fall into?
Well, part of it is to recognize, keep telling yourself, I'm comparing my inside with their outside. And as much as um I try to put on a good show, everybody else is putting on a good show. And what happens when you get to know people really well is you realize even the people you admire and respect have their own insecurities. Um, and part of what you can do is get to know some other people really well and realize, oh, this is kind of how it is for everybody.
Mhm. Well, doesn't this speak to the beginning of the episode where you said, hey, the 120 people in my local tribe,
Yeah.
I kind of know their inside because they're close enough that I've seen evidence of the ugly side.
Yeah. I've, I've, well, it doesn't even have to be ugly. It could be ugly, but it could also be the inadequate side. You know,
Yeah,
if,
yeah, I did. Yeah, I shouldn't say ugly, but
yeah,
the real
if you
side,
look at,
not the faked, polished side.
right, right. I know what they're like when they're down. I know what they're like when they're, um, I just know what they're like when they're relaxed. I know what they're like when they're not trying to impress anybody. Um, and you realize that's true for everybody.
Yeah. So I can't compare my inside to their outside. That's brilliant, right? The
Yeah.
comparison, like, hey, just know they're as flawed, but maybe in different ways, and they're just not showing it.
Oh, they're absolutely not showing it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you've got some sort of pathological narcissism, you don't walk around and tell all of your dirty laundry. You don't tell every inadequacy you have, because that's more look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you just do your best.
What do you think of this idea of detoxing? Uh, to is that just simply trying to get to the point where you're removed yourself enough that you're not in so deeply mired in that comparison game, and
I
now you're going
I
to come
think
back at it from real world view?
Yeah, I think a social media fast from time to time is a good idea, and start looking at the people around you.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, you know, if we watch the media, television, movies, everybody's good looking. But if you look around, like in
Not
normal
so
life,
much.
not so much. No. And so if you compare yourself, if you start looking at real life, the people at the grocery store, you realize, okay, people kind of are just normal looking. They're not all beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I love that as a practical reset. You're detoxing so that everybody you see isn't super successful, isn't super beautiful, isn't all these things. So you're disconnected from that. You go out into the real world, you see other agents, you see, the people at the grocery store or whatever, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I'm not so bad looking. Maybe I am more charismatic than I think I am. Maybe, are you resetting
You,
your view
you
of the world?
you're going from 8 billion to 120.
Mm,
And you start thinking, I don't have to be at the top of 8 billion. I need to be able to contribute meaningfully to this 120.
I absolutely love that as a closing statement to this episode because you just brought it full circle that this is where we were, this is what's happened, and now this is how we got to get back to the way we were to keep our sanity, because I mean,
Yes.
and I don't think I'm being hyperbolic in using that word, right? We literally have some people that are struggling uh
They
with
absolutely are. I mean, people are more anxious, they're more worried, they're more fragile. because the comparison group is all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love it. Our time is pretty good for this episode, so it's a good time to wrap things up. But as always, we want to make sure that folks know how to get a hold of you and what resources that you have available that they can use.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably the best way to get in touch with me is drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. On it, you can find out about my professional services, my professional consulting services. You can find my 3 books, and I got one on the way. You can find out about my online courses, and you
Get your
can
quizzes.
take the quizzes, and you can find out about my podcast, my other podcasts.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, that's all really good stuff. I love this series, and it's kind of interesting how deep we can go into each one of these topics. So I highly encourage our audience to go back to the first 2 episodes, to subscribe for the upcoming episodes, because we're going to talk about these in great detail and in very practical application, so to make significant difference into your lives is our hope. So with that, thanks so much, Dr. Hall. We appreciate it. And we'll
Thanks,
wish
Jerod.
everybody a blessed one. Take care.